I haven't since I saw it.
So one of the things I run into, somebody comes in looking for needles. And I think we talked about needle size at one point.
Oh my God! Don't tell me that's my problem.
Yeah, well,
I changed my needles.
it
so
might be
many
because
times.
what you're about to hear may be you're like,
Okay.
what? So most people are familiar with Schmetz needles. That's kind of the standard. A lot of people like Schmetz. There's a few different brands out there, but there's actually three to look out for. You've got Schmetz, you've got Oregon, and then you've got Singer needles.
No, I don't have a Singer needle.
Yeah, most people don't have Singer
I have
needles.
dime needles.
And I didn't have a micrometer available to verify this, but I'm pretty sure.
You believe it.
I don't
Just
doubt
like the aliens are coming.
Well, I think the aliens
They're
are
here.
They're here. That's a whole other conversation. But so the big difference.
Let's have a poll. Eddie
Or
has
Brent.
polls. Eddie has polls.
So anyway, so like I said, the big thing is Oregon versus Schmetz needles.
Oh, didn't you make it?
Okay, I'll turn it off for you. Schmetz versus Oregon, because Oregon needles are actually slightly shorter than Schmetz.
They are.
By like a millimeter or half a millimeter. They're slightly shorter. Singer needles are the opposite. They're slightly longer. So if you have Singer branded needles, they tend to be a little bit longer. So Schmetz is kind of the default. Everybody likes Schmetz. And typically this isn't a big deal. It really doesn't matter that much.
Until you go to thread it.
Well, there's a few times it might matter. The Singer needles being slightly longer, you can damage your machine because it goes a little too far down if you don't have a machine made for it. It's not.
That's a life lesson right there.
It's not very common, but
Too long, too deep, breaks.
That's what she says.
That's right, baby.
oh,
Stay away
not
from
necessarily. Not like I said. I'm not saying that if you have Singer needles, your machine's gonna break. If you have a Singer, obviously it works. But if you are running Singer needles, there is the possibility that you could damage your hook because it's going down further than it needs to. I wasn't able to find any actual evidence of this.
I
It
don't
was
know
one of
why
those.
we don't have visuals. I want visuals.
It's like I said, no actual evidence, but if you go onto interwebs, oh, I knew my great aunt's sister's cousin's brother once broke his machine because he used. Yeah, I couldn't find any firsthand experience, but Singer needles are slightly longer, so you could possibly damage your machine. Schmetz is longer than an Oregon, not by much. However, Japanese machines are designed to work with Oregon needles. European machines are designed to work with Schmetz. They're pretty much interchangeable. I've only ever run into one machine that would not work with Schmetz, and I had to put an Oregon needle in it to get it to work right.
Where does dime fit in? Because we sell all those dime needles.
Like I said, I didn't have my micrometer with me this morning, so I couldn't measure them to find out for sure.
Okay.
My suspicion is dime is going to be closer to the Schmetz. Like I said, the difference. The difference.
I don't know if y'all can hear him vibrating over here, but
The cat.
no. Well, yeah, that's
The
what I
cat's
meant.
vibrating,
the
not
cat.
me.
Sounds like it's coming from your stomach.
So one of the things is Schmetz being slightly longer. You don't run into you're not going to run into broken. Schmetz aren't long enough to cause issues with your thread hook, like you might run into with a Singer.
My hook will be okay.
So yeah, so Schmetz are what kind of is the default for a lot of people because they're going to work just fine with almost all machines. But keep in mind that a Japanese machine, that would be a Janome, Baby Lock, Brother, a Juki, a Neki, most any machine that was coming out of Japan was designed to work with an Oregon needle. All of your European brands are designed to work with a Schmetz. That being said, I wonder where the Elna fits in because the Elna is actually a Japanese machine, but you always group it in with the Europeans. I don't know why.
I don't group it at all.
Yeah,
I
well,
let it stand alone as an independent
yes,
machine.
but
I
so
don't believe
that
in
was just what I want to get
grouping.
into today is needles. Like I said, Schmetz are pretty universal, will work in most cases. But if you're running into skip stitches, because that's going to be the big.
That's been my big thing right now.
That's going to be the biggest culprit. The thing you're going to see if you have the wrong needle in there, if you have a Japanese machine, you're running Schmetz needles, and you're running into skip stitches, you might try running an Oregon versus a Schmetz because the machine was designed for that. Now that might be
Plus, it keeps on threading.
the unthreading issue.
Weird.
What kind of needles are you running?
I have tried.
Are you universals, top stitches, or embroideries?
No. We don't do universal needles.
Okay, so what are you using?
Well, I've tried embroidery.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried top.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried 9s. I've tried 12s.
But you've only done embroidery and top stitch needle types.
Correct.
That is probably why you're getting unthreading.
I'm embroidering while I'm doing it.
Yes, what you will run into is top stitch needles and embroidery needles actually have a bigger eye. They're designed to have bigger eyes. The bigger eye oftentimes doesn't create enough friction on the thread to keep it from being pulled out when you do a jump stitch. You can adjust that. And you can adjust the tension, but oftentimes if you're using one of those specialties with the bigger eyes, you will see you may run into an unthreading issue. And there's a couple other things that contribute to that, but one of the biggest things I've seen that really contribute to that is going to be the size of the eye of the needle. Actually makes a big difference.
But if I go down in needle size, shouldn't my eye go down?
It does go down a little bit, but still the eye is in terms of needle eyes, is significantly larger than like on a universal or a regular needle. But there's also an attention. There's a few other adjustments you can make. But one of the things that I've run into is, especially with top stitch needles have ginormous eyes. So there's not enough.
You know what's really strange though, is I took the whole thing because I thought this happened to be something I digitized. So I thought, oh my God, I did something wrong. So took the whole file to another machine, the Dream Machine.
Yeah.
Okay. Stitched out perfectly.
So it's your machine.
Well, we'll have that discussion again.
Okay.
There you all get to see behind the scenes. These are the
Yeah.
conversations we have when the camera's not on.
I'm like, why? Why?
It's always Becky though. It's your.
I
Yeah, no, I would be curious.
It's irritating.
What you're talking about, I'd be interested to see if an organ needle would make a difference for you.
okay. Well, I do have organ needles.
Is that what you've been running?
I tried. I ran Schmetz, dime, and organ.
Oh, interesting. Well, okay. Might be timing. The other thing.
And then I changed the thread because I'm like, is it because I was using an Aurifil, which I usually use a Floriani.
Yeah.
So I said maybe it's
And you're getting skip stitches.
skip stitches, and it pulls out of the eye. It unthreads all the time.
Unthreading is probably not related to the skip stitches, but
Oh, but it unthreads while it's stitching. It doesn't like break. The thing is still connected underneath, but it looks like this. The
I know what you're
top
talking
thread.
about.
It looks like this. It just keeps going, and I'm like, you're not stitching.
There's probably a timing issue
That's what I'm.
or a needle bar height.
Do you remember that video? Did you pull that video out and get your measuring out? Remember we did a timing video.
I'm not touching this machine. This machine is cursed.
And with that bombshell,
This machine is cursed. I
Let's
want
move-
my old machine back.
let's now move on to whatever magic Becky has in store for us today.
Oh, well, that all came out because I'm doing some very tiny blanket stitches for Frosty digitizing. And if it's going to skip on a blanket stitch, it looks like a Z.
Oh.
It
Yep.
doesn't go it's
definitely- my
it goes like this.
It's definitely a
And
timing
then it
issue.
gets better. I'm like, ugh.
Okay, well, what we're talking about
Anyway.
that is probably timing issue. However, it could be
Alright.
needle bar height. Those are two
Needle
related,
bar height.
or needle rise height. Depends which needle, which.
That's not something I fiddle with, is it?
No,
Oh.
but typically speaking, now you see this more on long arms than you see on domestic machines. Needle rise height is how far down the needle is going, and sometimes if you hit a ruler or something that jams it, that the needle's not going down all the way. So the symptoms are almost the same as timing, because the issue with timing is the eye of the needle and the hook aren't hitting each other at the right height. So if the
Yep.
needle's not coming down far enough, guess what? The hook's not hitting it where it's supposed to.
Now-
So on a long arm, if you think you have a timing issue, I always say check your needle rise height first.
Okay.
On a sewing machine, it's a lot rarer to see that, but it is something that we will always check first before we start
Now,
messing with timing.
what if sometimes, this is another symptom, people,
Mm-hmm.
the thread cutter doesn't cut? Could that all be related?
It could be related to a needle rise height issue because the cutter is kind of synced with that a little bit.
Sometimes it cuts, sometimes it doesn't.
Or the other thing that you probably haven't done this, but I have seen this with the cutters on brother machines. You pull your bobbin case out.
Yeah,
And
I-
people could clean all the dust off it.
I
And they
did
put-
that thinking that was part of the problem.
And
I switched
there's
the
this-
bobbin case.
And there's this
actually.
piece of fuzz on the bobbin case that
Oh,
everybody's
yeah.
like, oh, look at all
peel
this
that
lint,
off.
and they peel it
Yeah,
off.
I did not peel
If
it
you have
off.
to work to peel
I
it
have
off,
peeled
it
it off
wasn't
before.
supposed to come off. And if you do peel off the fuzz, your cutter will work very intermittently because the fuzz actually creates the friction for the cutter to catch a bobbin thread.
Yeah, I actually changed my bobbin case thinking that could be part of this whole dilemma.
Mm-hmm.
And it did improve when I put in the quote embroidery bobbin case, which we all know is not really an embroidery bobbin case.
Well, the embroidery bobbin case, we can mess with the tension and not mess up your
Right,
standard.
that's what I mean. It's
Yeah.
not really.
Well, it could be if you change the tension on it.
I didn't change it.